The Sūtra of Jñānaka. Homage to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Thus did I hear at one time. The Blessed One was staying among the gods of the heaven of the 33 for the benefit of his mother. He was seated in front of the Pariyatra tree upon the Pandukambala rock. There was a god there experiencing the 5 ominous signs of death. His garlands had withered, his clothes had started to deteriorate, his body had started to smell, sweat dripped from his armpits, and he felt unhappy on his seat. This god foresaw his rebirth in the womb of a pig in Vaiśālī, causing him to be overcome with misery and cry out in woe. He beat his chest as he wept uncontrollably. Another god approached him and asked, "Deva, is it death that you fear?" "Indeed, fellow Deva," he responded, "it is death that I fear." "Why?" "Well, fellow Deva, I have eaten divine foods, imbibed divine drinks, and worn divine garments here among the gods of the heaven of the 33. Thus, as I behold my rebirth in the womb of a pig in Vaiśālī, I see that I will eat excrement and be killed by a blade. These are the reasons, fellow Deva, that I fear death." "Do not be afraid of death, my fellow Deva." "Why?" "Well, fellow Deva, the Blessed One, the thus gone, worthy, perfect Buddha, is residing here in the heaven of the 33 for the benefit of his mother. He is seated in front of the Pariyatra tree upon the Pandukambala rock. Deva, you should by all means pay homage to the Blessed One. He will come here to save you from the lower realms." "Why?" "Fellow Deva, the Blessed Buddha has great compassion and never forsakes beings." The god then rose from his seat, draped his upper robe over one shoulder, and knelt on his right knee. With his palms joined, he bowed in the direction of the Blessed One and repeated this entreaty 3 times. "Homage to the Blessed Thus Gone One. Homage to the Blessed Thus Gone One. Out of love for me, may the Blessed One please come here and save me from the lower realms." Aware of the sincere intent of that god, the Blessed One went to him and sat upon a seat that had been prepared. After taking his seat, the Blessed One asked that god, "Deva, is it death that you fear?" "Indeed, Blessed One," the god responded, "I am afraid to die." "Why?" "Because I foresaw my rebirth in the wretched womb of a pig in Vaiśālī. Once reborn there, I will eat excrement and be killed by a blade. That is why, Blessed One, I am afraid to die." The Blessed One said, "Deva, do not be afraid of death." "Why?" "Well, Deva, it is not the earth and water elements that transmigrate here and there, but rather your own actions. Come here, Deva. Take refuge in the Buddha. Take refuge in the Dharma and in the Sangha." The god then rose from his seat and addressed the Blessed One. "Yes, Blessed One, I will. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma and in the Sangha." The Blessed One responded to the god with the following stanza. "Those who have taken refuge in the Buddha will be spared transmigrating to the lower realms. As they relinquish their divine existence, they will take up a human existence instead." The Blessed One then delivered a discourse on the Dharma to the god and ensured that the god retained it. Having inspired the god and filled him with delight, the Blessed One rose from his seat, and departed. Not long thereafter, the god passed away. He was immediately reborn in the womb of a noble merchant's wife in Vaiśālī. After 9 months had come to pass, an adorable child with a charming appearance and the most exquisite complexion was born. The moment he was born, he exclaimed, "Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha." At that moment, his parents thought, "This child knows of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. He possesses knowledge." Once, when this child, Jñānaka, was around 8 years old, he and a group of Likavi youths who were in his company arrived at a crossroads in a park. At that time, the Blessed One was staying at a mansion in the great grove of Vaiśālī. At dawn, the Blessed One donned his lower garment, dressed in his robes, picked up his alms bowl, and went to Vaiśālī on an alms round. The child, Jñānaka, caught sight of the Blessed One, who was handsome, and so forth up until shining. Filled with joy at seeing the Blessed One, he happily went before the Blessed One and bowed his head to his feet, circled him 3 times, and sat to one side. Seated to one side, the child Jñānaka spoke to the Blessed One in verse. "I have recollected a past life in which the Lord of the world saved me from suffering and delivered me from falling to the lower realms. Foremost of humans, would you be so kind as to accept this gift of alms? Please accept this midday meal today for having saved me so. Please think kindly as I invite you to my parents' home tomorrow, together with all of your monks. Please come to partake of a midday meal." The Blessed One remained silent, signaling his acceptance of the child Jñānaka's request. Aware that the Blessed One had accepted by not speaking, the child Jñānaka went before his parents and announced, "Dear father and mother, I offered alms to the Blessed One and have invited him tomorrow for a midday meal." The parents of the child Jñānaka were pleased and rejoiced, full of happiness and delight. Filled with joy and elation, they arranged a spread of delicious foods and tasty delicacies that very night. They had the entire city of Vaiśālī swept clean and strung with silk tassels. They lit incense in incense burners, sprinkled fragrant water, and elegantly scattered flowers. When the night had passed and the appropriate time had come, they went to the Blessed One and said, "Honorable One, Blessed One, it is time for the midday meal. The food is ready." At dawn, the Blessed One donned his lower garment, dressed in his robes, and picked up his alms bowl. Escorted and encircled by an assembly of monks, he went to the home of Jñānaka's parents, where they sat upon seats that had been prepared for them. Noticing that the Blessed One and the Sangha of monks were seated, the child Jñānaka brought forth many delicious foods and tasty delicacies, offering them carefully with his own hands. Seeing that the Blessed One had finished his midday meal, he presented a set of cotton robes and a pair of sandals to each member of the Sangha, and 3 new robes and a pair of new shoes to the Blessed One. He scattered gold and silver flowers that, through the power of the Buddha, immediately transformed above the Blessed One's head into a glistening, elegant mansion with 4 corners and 4 rooms. Within this mansion, the child Jñānaka beheld the figure of the thus gone one, sitting cross-legged and teaching the Dharma. As he observed the Blessed One's inconceivable form, miracles, and supernatural powers, the child Jñānaka was joyful, elated, and filled with happiness. He said to the Blessed One, "Blessed One, I dedicate my roots of virtue to unsurpassed and completely perfect awakening. May these roots of virtue lead me to awaken, teach the Dharma, and sustain the Sangha just like the present Blessed One." Aware of the intent of the child Jñānaka, the Blessed One smiled, and so forth, up until the light dissolved into the crown of his head. The Venerable Ānanda saw this, and thought to himself, "There is nothing that the Blessed One does without purpose," and so forth, up until "What is the reason?" The Blessed One then addressed the Venerable Ānanda with these verses. "Ānanda, by making offerings to the thus gone one like this, Jñānaka will not fall to lower states for 900 million eons. He will at that point take rebirth and appear in the world as a guide, as a Buddha by the name of King of Foremost Knowing. This exemplary tale of the Buddha delights the learned and engenders great virtue in the wise people who hear it. Not so trivial are the results of gifts offered with lucid faith to the thus gone Buddha, who is limitless like the extent of the ocean." After the Blessed One had spoken these words, the child Jñānaka, the monks, and the world with its gods rejoiced and praised what the Blessed One had taught. This completes the Sutra of Jñānaka, an exemplary tale of the Buddha.